Hello! In this video we will be deploying two VMs and configuring the Kubernetes cluster. If you followed the first video, you should have a template for these VMs. So let's go ahead and create them. So what we want to do is clone it as a full clone, give them a VM ID and a name. And we also create one for the work node at the same time. Now, I just want to point out, if you're following along on the website, keep in mind on which VM you are running the commands on, as these are separated in two sections. Once the VMs are created, we want to go ahead and change a few settings on them. So let's start by going to hardware and expanding the hard drive. We'll give it an extra 10 gig. And we also need to fix the network address. And do the same for the work node. Okay, we can go ahead and start these. Once the VMs are up and running, let's go ahead and start configuring the control node. Now, there's a lot of commands that we were going through, so I will be copy pasting them. You can, of course, just follow along on the website. So let's swap over to our root user. Okay. Let's start by installing the dependencies that we need for this. Okay. Now we need to turn off swap. And we need to make it permanent. Next step, so we need to change a few things in the kernel. This is to make sure that the networking is working for our pods. Okay. So now we are ready to actually start installing the things that we need. Let's go ahead and install containerd. So let's add the key. Let's add the source list. And let's install containerd. We'll apply the default configuration. And we will set systemd to use C groups. Then let's restart containerd, and that's done. Next step is to actually install the Kubernetes itself. So let's add the key for that. Let's add the source list. Do a little update. And we need to install kubeadm, kubelet, and kubectl. Okay, those packages are done. We need to fix the host file. So let's go ahead and do that. What we need to specify is the Kubernetes cluster we will be using. That'll be the endpoint. And we will be naming this one KCP1. The same CP1. And we can already add a worker node here as well. Okay. Let's create a YAML file for the kubeadmin configuration. This is the endpoint that we just configured in the host file, as well as the CP1. That's actually the node name. Okay, everything done, and go ahead and initiate the cluster. So we use the YAML file that we just created. We upload the certs so that the Kubernetes cluster can distribute all the certs that it creates. And we name the node CP1. Now this will take some time, so we'll be back when it's done. Once the control plane initiation is done, you will have this prompted for you. Go ahead and save all of this, as we will need it later to join the worker node. Yeah. Okay, we're going to swap back to our normal user and to start using Kubernetes. As you can see, we currently can't use it. So we have to follow these commands that were prompted for us higher up that we also saved. Let's go ahead and run it. Now, there we go, CP1. And it takes a while for it to be ready. Now, for it to actually work, we also need a CNI, which is a container network controller. So this is why currently it's still in not ready status. So let's go ahead and install that. Start by installing dependencies. We're going to be using Cilium. We will add the key. This is for Helm, which is our application plugin manager for Kubernetes. And we install Helm. Add the Cilium repo. Update. And we install Helm into the kube system namespace, which is there by default. See what's happening. It's starting to initiate and create all of our Cilium containers right now. Check the status of the cluster. There we go. Now it's ready. Let's also go ahead and install autocompletion for kubectl commands. So let's check if the dependency is already pre-installed. It already is. Now we can actually see. So it auto-completes our commands, which wasn't on by default. Now that we are done with the controller node, we're going to swap over and install the work node as well. As many of the commands are the same on the work node, I would just run them and you can copy them from the website. Once we hit something that is a change, I will stop and explain that one. Same dependencies. Swap off. Make it permanent. Mod Pro. We add container D, same as on the controller. and we install the Kubernetes packages. Now, the same as on the controller, we need to point out the Kubernetes endpoint and the CP node in the host file. And we will add ourselves as well. Okay, now we're ready to join the worker into the cluster. So let's see. What we want to do is use this command, but we also want to name the worker so it doesn't get some generic name. We will just add node name worker1. There we go. Let's swap back to the control plane and see what's going on. Worker1 is getting added. Cilium is being deployed. We can check that. It's being created on worker1. This will take a little while. Eventually it will be ready. We'll get back when worker1 node is up as well for some finalizing of the cluster. For a little while, everything should be up, and we can have a look at everything is ready. At this stage, you have a fully working cluster, and if you're happy at this point, you can go ahead and do some labs on your own. What I want to point out is that a control plane, as by default, comes as tainted, which means that if you try to run any pod deployments right now, they will only go to worker1. So if you just want to lab with these two nodes, let me demonstrate. We check for taints. And this is our controller node. The control plane has no schedule, which means no scheduled deployments will be running there. To remove this taint, we run this command with this minus at the end. It untaints the controller node. So right now there's no taints, and if you run a deployment, it will be deployed on both the control plane and the worker node. Now this is not best practice. You shouldn't be running this in, for example, production. You only use the worker nodes, but for a home lab, go ahead and have fun. In the next episode, we will be going over some deployments. We will set up a load balancer. Yeah, we'll just have a look at some stuff that Kubernetes can do. Hope you learned something, and have a good day.